Heyo! This is the first in a 7-part video series where I analyze the rating shares for every respective Dragon Ball series going into dragonballdaima. In America, you got the Nielsen. In Japan, it's typically video research. The point is, we're talking ratings, bro. And I'm kickstarting this series with Dragon Ball. I would like to thank Kanzenshu as all the data I'm using for the episodes comes from their website. So big thanks in advance. Episode 47 is Dragon Ball's highest rated episode, airing January 21st, 1987. The rating share came out at 29.5, the highest of any Dragon Ball series. Throughout Dragon Ball's run, it averaged a rating of 21.2. Episode 47 is obviously an exception. This episode adapted Chapter 71 of Dragon Ball, which was released April 22nd of 1986. This episode was supervised by Mitsuo Shindo of Shindo Pro and directed by Yuji Endo. Here's an episode recap for you. After beating two Red Ribbon Army perverts, Goku and Bulma head to Kame Sennin's place to get a submarine to search for the next Dragon Ball buried deep within the ocean. Goku and Bulma have to wait for Kuririn or Krillin and Lunch to show up back to the house after using the submarine to go get some food. During the wait, Kame Sennin uses the microband that Bulma gave him in exchange for a sub in his perverted plan to see Bulma use the bathroom and Lunch take a shower. Goku and Bulma's stop at Kame's house alerts the Red Ribbon Army, who are searching for the Dragon Balls, and General Blue sends out a scout to Kame house to scout the area. In the end, Goku and Bulma take Krillin with them and are located by the Red Ribbon Army. So why did the ratings jump for this episode? The ratings around this time, up to episode 46, were around a 24 to 26. Then in episode 47, they jumped to a 29.5. And after this episode, they stayed around a 27 to 28 into episode 50. But why would they jump specifically for this episode? One of the reasons is definitely that a lot of Dragon Ball viewers had to have been excited to see their favorite characters come back, like the Muten Roshi and Kuririn, or Krillin and Lunch and the Turtle, Umigame. And after seeing the episode preview for episode 47 in episode 46, they must have been super hyped to see these characters return. The same thing would happen later on with Dragon Ball Kai in episode 46, where episode 47 was teased. You could see Goku transforming into a Super Saiyan against Frieza, and the episode title was right there for you to see. The same thing again happened in Dragon Ball Super, when people were hyped to see the return of future Trunks, as well as what would happen to future Bulma from the preview that we saw in episode 46. And these two episodes of Dragon Ball Kai 47 and of Super 47 as well were also the highest rated episodes of both series respectively as well. So 47 may just be Dragon Ball's lucky number. I mean, you got 4 for the 4 stars and 7 for the Dragon Ball. So it kind of fits, right? In GT, something similar happened where Goku, Trunks, and Pan were in space for the majority of the series up to that point, until episode 25. Well, more people did start watching around episode 26, which was just an episode after they returned to Earth. So much like with Dragon Ball here, people wanted to see their favorite characters return to the story in GT as well. And obviously through word of mouth and TV commercials promoting the next episode, people would have been keyed in on the fact that their favorite characters were returning to Dragon Ball. It was also around the end of the Red Ribbon Army arc in the manga with Goku fighting against Gohan, so people would have just really been excited for Dragon Ball overall. Plus, it's the winter, it's January in 1987. Not many people are going outside like that, you know? And that was the highest rated episode of Dragon Ball. Now for the other side of the coin. Episode 110 would be the lowest rated episode of Dragon Ball, airing May 4th, 1988. The rating share came out at a 13.7, which is still higher than the highest rated episodes for Dragon Ball Kai and Dragon Ball Super. But there's a massive disparity for why this is the case, which I'll explain in a future video as part of this video series. This episode adapted chapters 144 and 145, which came out September 29th and October 6th of 1987, respectively. Again, the animation was supervised by Mitsuo Shindo. The episode was storyboarded by Satoru Kusuda and directed by Daisuke Nishio. Here's the recap of the episode. Goku is literally in the middle of his first fight with Piccolo after just hitting him with the Kamehameha, which Piccolo no-sold. Piccolo ends up defeating Goku and even stopping his heart, and takes his Dragon Ball, but Goku survives and heads to Karin Tower with Yajirobe, otherwise known as Yajirobe in the dub. Kame Sennin, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu have found the 5th Dragon Ball, but Piccolo is headed their way. Kame Sennin's group hides their Dragon Ball in a different location and prepare for Piccolo's arrival. Piccolo swallows the Dragon Balls in his possession, and Kame Sennin incapacitates Ten and calls off the plan they had made. And the episode ends with a face-off between the Muten Roshi and Demon King Piccolo. This episode comes off of episode 109 where Goku blasts Piccolo with the Kamehameha. So what was the reason for such a low rating in this episode? You could say it's because Goku nearly died and maybe parents didn't want their kids seeing that. Thanks to Toriyama's chapter notes for chapter 173 of Dragon Ball, which came out May 2nd of 1988, just 2 days before this episode, and only 6 days after chapter 172 as opposed to the usual 7 days, Toriyama pointed out that it was Golden Week in Japan. Golden Week in Japan spans from April 29th to May 5th every year. One of Japan's biggest weeks for celebration, meaning there was a bunch of holidays and people could have been watching something different. Kids would have been free from school during that week, so they would have been out in festivals with their parents, prepping for Children's Day later that week. And the ratings around this time helped my belief, as they were at an 18.8 for episode 109 the week before, and in the weeks leading to episode 110, they were hovering around a 20, then just all of a sudden dropped to a 13.7 the week of Golden Week. And all that just for the ratings to rise to a 16.3 the week after? To be fair, after this point, the ratings overall would just seem to take a noticeable dip from the usual 20s it would get before, up until around episode 132, which was the episode right before the 23rd Budokai began airing. These rating dips during Golden Week for every Dragon Ball series to this day match up very closely and consistently to what I've been saying. Dragon Ball Kai, for example, began airing a month before Golden Week, but episode 5, which premiered May 3rd, 2009, had a rating share of 8.8, which was a noticeable drop from the 11.1 the week prior to Golden Week, which it aired, only to go up to a 9.1 the week after Golden Week. So maybe when you combine just how dark the Piccolo arc was overall, combined with the challenge of airing Dragon Ball during Golden Week, parents probably didn't want their kids being exposed to that level of violence. Plus, assuming kids read the manga, they would have known what would have happened, or they could have waited after Golden Week was over to see another airing of this episode later on. But also, episode 111 would have recapped episode 110 as well, so it's not the worst thing. Here's something fun. The highest rated episode of Dragon Ball is 47. The highest rated episode of Dragon Ball Super is also 47. The lowest rated episode for Dragon Ball is 110. Likewise, the lowest rated episode for Dragon Ball Super is also 110. And that's been the highest and lowest rated episodes of Dragon Ball. The next few videos of this series will be covering Z, GT, and Super, and I'll have another video explaining how ratings work and why Dragon Ball's ratings were what they were. And then I have another video explaining Dragon Ball's ratings during Golden Week from 1986 to 2017. And I'll do another highest and lowest video for Dragon Ball Daima once it ends. And so that's been the deep dive for the highest and lowest rated Dragon Ball episodes. Stay tuned for the next one I make on Dragon Ball Z. See ya!